In the near future, overpopulation has drained the world's resources, so the UN decides that countries must reduce their population by 5% each year. In the US, all students must take an annual standardized test every year and those with the lowest scores are executed. The test is known as the 10 to 241, but people refer to it as the thinning. In Texas, students are preparing for the test, which is just 18 hours away. High schooler Lena is tutoring Simon, while her younger siblings play nearby them. Simon is stressed because he doesn't understand enough, so he bribes Lena a good amount of money for special contact lenses that provide him all the answers. Lena warns him to destroy them after the test. Just then she gets a call from the hospital as her mother is trying to leave against medical advice. Lena asks the doctor to buy her some time and rushes to the hospital with her siblings, only to find her mother has already signed the discharge paperwork. The doctor talks Lena privately and turns down her money, revealing that her mother's condition has worsened and no treatment will help her now. Later that evening, with just 12 hours remaining before the exam, the governor's son Blake tells his bodyguards he's heading to the kitchen for a snack, but he actually sneaks out of the mansion to meet his girlfriend Ellie. The tension rises as they realize they might not survive the morning, so they decide to distract themselves. The two sneak into another mansion and use the pool for a while. Afterward, the duo return to the car to make out, but Ellie can't get in the mood because she's scared of the test. Their moment is interrupted by a bodyguard, who drags Blake back to the mansion. Governor Dean scolds Blake for wasting time before the test, stressing that he should be studying now so that he can enjoy himself later. He warns that Ellie is a distraction which Blake can't afford until graduation, but Blake seems unconvinced. Dean hugs him anyway. 3 hours before the exam, black-clad guards surround the school with fences, barbed wire, and cameras, patrolling to prevent anyone from fleeing. Simon arrives early, and when another student accidentally bumps into him, his contact lenses fall out. As he searches for them, a guard orders him to keep moving. As the students arrive, they exchange a final, sad goodbye with their parents. The guards then check their bags and scan their bodies to prevent any cheating. Blake approaches Lena, asking to buy the special lenses, but Lena tells him she already sold the last pair. Just then, a guard discovers a student with invisible answers painted on his arm, and the boy bolts. It's the first time anyone manages to evade the guards, so Lena's friend Kellen hacks into his father's account to access the street security footage. He watches as the guards surround the boy and catch him with a net, then sends a copy of the footage to a reporter. Once inside, the school goes into lockdown. The students head to their classrooms, where Miss Birch tries her best to offer comfort and encouragement, reminding them there's always a chance. Mr. Glass reminds the students of the rules. They have 2 hours to complete the test, their eyes must stay on their tablets, and all grades are final. The test begins, and everyone focuses on answering the questions, though it's clear many are struggling. When time is up, the students must drop their tablets, and the guards immediately review the results on their computers. The conclusions come swiftly, and the teachers are devastated as they read the names of the lowest scorers. With each name, the guards drag the student away, forcefully handling those who resist or even beating those who try to escape. Blake, Kellen, and Lena pass, but Ellie doesn't. She is taken away. The students are given a break, and Lena notices that Simon is also being taken away. Desperate, Blake calls his dad to plead for Ellie's life, but Governor Dean refuses, saying the law applies to everyone. Furious, Blake pushes through the crowd, shoving a guard aside before grabbing a fire extinguisher and using it to strike another guard. He then tackles a second guard and yells at Ellie to escape. She runs, but the other students block her path, and the guards catch up to her. They drag her away to her death while Blake is forcibly restrained and taken away. A year passes, and the next test is just 24 hours away. Sarah, overwhelmed by the pressure, goes to see Mr. Glass. He agrees to give her a good grade if she sleeps with him. Meanwhile, Miss Birch visits Lena and her siblings, who are still grieving the loss of their mother. She brings food and offers support, knowing the younger ones are facing their first test this year. On her way home, Birch spots Sarah leaving Mr. Glass' car. At the governor's mansion, Blake records a video on his tablet, saying that if someone is watching it, it means he's dead. 3 hours before the test, Lena takes her siblings to the school, quizzing them on the way to ensure they're prepared. Dean tries to offer Blake some support before he leaves, but Blake isn't convinced and tells him to save it for his speeches. A bodyguard notices Blake drop an envelope in a mailbox on his way to the school. The bodyguard takes it and delivers it to Dean. Moments later, the school is placed under lockdown, and all the students take their seats. In the kindergarten class, the teacher plays an animated propaganda video explaining why the test is crucial to save the Earth. It compares the US to other countries that kill the elderly or limit births, claiming the US focuses on preserving the smartest people to ensure the country's greatness. After the video, the students are given their tablets, and the test begins. Meanwhile, Dean finds Blake's video in the envelope and realizes that Blake plans to fail the test on purpose so his father can witness his death, a consequence of the very system Dean defends. Dean orders the bodyguards to bring Blake home, but with the school under lockdown, no one can leave. After dismissing his bodyguard, Dean calls Mason, the head of the school's security. In the classroom, Blake answers every question quickly and incorrectly, deliberately finishing early. Glass finds Blake's behavior strange. Meanwhile, in the kindergarten class, a child raises his hand asking for help, but the teacher refuses, aware that a guard is watching. As time runs out, everyone places their tablets down, and the results are calculated by Mason alone. Instead of the usual group of guards, the teachers begin calling names, and the child who asked for help is taken away, followed by Sarah, who screams in disbelief as she realizes Glass lied to her. Kellen and Lena's siblings pass, and so does Blake, though he's confused by the situation. Birch is devastated when she reads Lena's name, unable to believe it because Lena is the best student in her class. Meanwhile, Mason calls Dean to confirm the switch was made. Blake watches in shock as the students are dragged away, and Birch runs to a guard, pleading for a double check of the results, insisting it's impossible for Lena to fail. The guards call Mason and are told everything is fine, so Lena is forced to leave with the others. As Birch says goodbye, she secretly hands Lena her keycard, whispering that there's always a chance. Later, the school holds a party for those who passed, and Birch notices Glass flirting with another student. Meanwhile, Dean is at a public event, and his speech is played at the party. The crowd cheers as he lists his accomplishments, claiming he's improved the state and made tough but necessary decisions. He defends the thinning, calling it innovation rather than barbaric. Dean also announces his candidacy for president, which causes Blake to leave the party in disgust. In a private hallway, the failed students are told to strip for decontamination. When they refuse, they are beaten by the guards. Lena hides the keycard in her mouth, keeping it concealed as they are given prison-like clothes and taken to another room where they're handcuffed to chairs. Meanwhile, Blake reaches the corridor and pretends to feel very sick. When a guard checks on him, Blake jumps on him and knocks him out with the guard's own weapon. At the same time, Kellen hacks into his father's account again to monitor the failed students through the security cameras, but the sight is too painful, so he looks away. After hiding the unconscious body, Blake waits for Mason to leave the control room and sneaks inside. He tries to access the computer but is blocked by a password. As the guards prepare to inject the students, Blake sabotages the power box, shutting down the building's power. With the electronic handcuffs failing, the students seize the opportunity to escape, and chaos erupts throughout the room. As the guards and students fight, Lena seizes the opportunity to escape, using Birch's keycard to open the door. Meanwhile, Mason returns to the control room, but Blake is already hiding in the vents. Mason notices the system is down and orders the guards to bring Kellen's father to fix it. At the party, the guards inform everyone that it's just a regular power outage and escort Kellen's dad to the control room. While he works, Mason checks on the students, who have been recuffed. He reminds the guards to conduct a head count, and they notice someone is missing. In the corridor, Ellie almost runs into a guard but quickly hides behind lockers. She attempts to use the keycard to open another door, but it gets stuck. Just as the guard finds her, Ellie uses the darkness to her advantage, pretending to be Birch. As the guard turns around, Ellie jumps on him and tries to fight, but he quickly overpowers her and starts kicking her. Just as things seem dire, Blake appears and takes over the fight, using the element of surprise to knock the guard out. Afterward, Blake confesses he failed on purpose, and Lena realizes something is off with all the results. Blake then activates the alarm, sending all the guards to the corridor, while he and Lena hide in the vents. Mason announces the school will remain in lockdown until they find Lena, ignoring the fact that the kids are supposed to be reunited with their parents by now. In the vents, Blake judges Lena for selling the lenses to desperate students, seeing it as exploiting their fear. Lena explains she did it to pay for her mother's treatments, and Blake immediately apologizes. She then confesses that she used to have a crush on him. At the governor's home, a reporter asks Dean about the prolonged shutdown at the school, which he wasn't aware of. He pretends everything is under control, but after the interview, he checks the news and discovers Kellen's reporter friend is outside the school, covering the crisis and interviewing worried parents about their kid's fate. Meanwhile, Mason orders all the teachers to prove they still have their keycards. When he approaches Birch, he's interrupted by a call from Dean, who angrily demands the problem be resolved quickly. Back in the vents, Blake and Lena continue moving through the narrow spaces. Suddenly, the surface gives way, and Blake falls through, crashing into the pool. Lena immediately jumps in and swims to him, finding him unconscious. Thankfully, Lena knows CPR and manages to revive him. he and Lena head to the lockers to change into dry clothes. Lena finds another vent, allowing them to continue their escape. At the party, some students attempt to leave but are quickly beaten by the guards. Kellen records the incident and sends the footage to the reporter. Meanwhile, Lena and Blake reach the corridor outside the server room, but the keycard falls from Lena's pocket. Hearing a noise, Blake quickly covers Lena's mouth, and they hide, hoping the guards will pass by. Thankfully, the darkness conceals the key, and the guards don't spot it. The duo then heads to the science classroom, but as they descend, the noise they make is definitely heard by a guard. Thinking quickly, Lena gathers a few objects and creates a makeshift magnet rod to fish for the key. As the guards arrive and begin pounding on the locked door, Blake quickly sends Lena back into the vents while he stays behind as a distraction. Blake hides behind the desks, but the guard bursts in and quickly spots him. Soon, only one of them is left unconscious on the floor. Meanwhile, in the vent, Lena waits for the guards to move, then lowers the magnet. She successfully hooks the key and raises it, but a guard suddenly grabs it. However, he releases it, and Lena realizes it's Blake. He stole the uniform from the guard he knocked out. Elsewhere, the guard from Blake and Lena's earlier encounter tells Simon that two teenagers are on the loose, one of whom used the name Birch. Meanwhile, the teachers remain in another room. Birch pretends to flirt with Glass and secretly steals his keycard. When Mason comes to check on her, Birch presents Glass' keycard as her own. The guards soon realize Glass is missing his key and detain him, while the other teachers are finally allowed to leave. Mason begins beating Glass, demanding to know where to find the escaping teens. Meanwhile, Lena makes her way through the vents to the server room and attempts to use the computer. However, the test program prompts her for Mason's password. Desperate, she sends a message to Kellen, asking for help. At that moment, Kellen's dad finishes his repairs, and the power is restored. Kellen gains access to Wi-Fi and receives Lena's message. He quickly responds with a video of Mason using his password earlier. Lena copies it and successfully accesses the test system. She first checks her siblings' results, confirming they passed. Then, she checks her own results and is shocked to find she scored 98% but still failed, while Blake passed with just 15%. Ellie also failed with a score of 88%. It becomes clear that Dean has been manipulating the test results for a while. Meanwhile, Dean appears at a press conference, claiming that Lena killed two guards after failing the test, while reassuring the public that the guards are working hard to keep everyone safe. At the same time, Kellen sends his reporter friend the video of the guards beating students who try to leave, which immediately airs on national TV. Lena realizes this is Kellen's doing and sends him screenshots of the manipulated test results. Unfortunately, Mason spots Lena on the security cameras and raises the alarm. She starts running, but Mason and his guards quickly surround her. Lena tries to explain that she has proof she passed, but she is arrested anyway. Meanwhile, Blake finds the room where the students are being held and pretends to have orders to move them. The guards find it suspicious that Blake wasn't properly informed, so he has no choice but to start a fight. He manages to throw a few punches, but the guards quickly overpower him and subdue him. Meanwhile, at the party, Kellen receives the screenshots and sends them to the reporter, who immediately goes live on TV to announce her findings. She highlights the suspicious nature of how a politician's son benefited from the manipulated results. This causes panic at Dean's mansion. His team suggests shutting down the mission and letting Lena go, but Dean insists he has one final move planned. Soon, Lena is handcuffed along with the other failed students, and the guards prepare the injections. Mason calls Dean to ask for authorization to proceed, but Dean stops him, stating that the list needs to be revised before taking further action. The students who actually passed the exams are released, and Lena runs to kiss Blake, who is still tied up. Guards drag her away as others head to the party to bring in the students who failed the test, including Blake, who is handcuffed along with the others. One by one, the failed students receive a mysterious injection, causing them to pass out. The school is finally opened, and the parents are reunited with their children. Lena runs to her siblings, who have been cared for by their teacher. Meanwhile, the parents who don't get their kids back break down in despair. Later, Dean appears on TV again, claiming that Mason was responsible for everything that happened. He puts on a sad act, expressing his love for his deceased son, while still emphasizing that no one, not even him, is above the law. Sometime after the broadcast, a truck arrives at an illegal tech factory. Blake is shocked to wake up alive and well, realizing the injection was only a sedative. The other students are also unharmed, and as they look around, they see failed students from previous years working at an illegal tech factory. Blake is further stunned when he spots a very alive Ellie among them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. See you in the next video.